Hey guys, Soccer from SAKITECH, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the Samsung Galaxy A54 that I have right over here. Okay, now this is Samsung's latest mid-range smartphone. It is priced at $450. It is for people that want a Samsung phone but they don't want to spend over $1,000 on a flagship. So in this video I'm going to give you guys a bunch of pros and cons of this device after a solid few weeks of trying it out. So let's dive in and get started right away. Alright, so first we're going to be talking about the pros and then we're going to be talking about the cons. Let's dive in and talk about number one pro, and that's basically the fact that this phone has a phenomenal display. It is a full high definition plus display, so you do have some good resolution. It's a large screen, 6.4 inches, but the most important for me is the fact that it has 120 Hz display refresh rate, which makes this phone very smooth to operate for the most part. Another great thing is it does have great daylight visibility, so it does have a peak brightness of 1000 nits. So using this phone under direct sunlight in daylight is not a huge deal. Obviously, it's not going to be as bright as a Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra or other flagship phones, but 1000 nits of brightness is quite capable to be used under daylight conditions. So that's pro number one. Number two, the second pro is the fact that it's got great stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos sound. So thank God they're not jamming single speakers into these mid-range budget smartphones. They actually sound good when you're watching a video. And couple that with a good display with those stereo speakers and the Dolby sound, you actually get a great multimedia experience out of this phone. That's almost guaranteed. If you watch a lot of videos on your phone, this phone is going to satisfy you quite well. Alright, so let's talk about number three. The phone actually has 5000 milliamp hours of battery. That's the same capacity we have on the S23 Ultra. S23 Ultra is a more demanding phone. This one is a less demanding phone. So with 5000 milliamp hours, it's going to easily last you a full day of solid use, and you're even going to have some leftover battery life for the next day. At least that was in my experience. But good battery life is guaranteed with that 5000 milliamp hour capacity. Number four, we actually have a micro SD expansion option. You can add up to 1 terabytes of additional storage to this phone if that's what you want. Now, many people have moved on from wanting to have a micro SD expansion, but some people still do. I personally know a bunch of people that still use their old phones and they don't want to upgrade to a flagship because they don't want to lose all the data on the micro SD card that they have currently. So this would be that phone you can upgrade to from your older smartphone and still bring your SD card with you. For some people, they're not tech savvy enough to transfer everything over. They just want to plug and play. So you got that micro SD expansion plug and play experience with this phone. Again, you can add up to 1 terabytes of additional storage on top of what you have, which is 128 gigabytes. All right, so let's talk about number five. Number five, you do get 5 years of security updates with this phone. That is huge. For 5 years, you're covered, and you're also promised 4 major software updates. So that's fantastic. 5 years security and 4 OS updates. Not 4 years of OS updates, 4 OS updates. So this phone starts at Android 13. You're looking at 14, 15, 16, all included, which is great. That means you can buy this phone for long term. All right, so pro number 6, the phone actually has IP resistance. So it is protected against water and dust. So the rating on this phone is 1 hair below a flagship. It's IP67 as opposed to IP68. But it's not a huge deal because this is what IP67 is going to give you with this particular phone. You're going to be fully protected from dust. So dust is not going to get in your phone, and you can actually submerge this phone into water for 30 minutes, as deep as 1 meter, and there's not going to be any damage. Now, nobody's going to grab their phone and they're submerge it into the water for no reason. But if you drop your phone in a puddle of water, and of course you better have a case, or if you're out there in a rainy day taking photos or using your phone, or even wash your phone, you're going to be perfectly safe. It's not going to get any water damage. So that was number 6, and those are the highlights, the pros of this phone. Of course, there's other things we can talk about, but I want to concentrate on the highlights. Now, let's talk about the cons, and I do have 3 cons on this phone. I am not impressed with the camera system. So the camera system on this phone as a total package is unimpressive. Let me quickly explain what I'm talking about. So if you were to go out there in daylight or good lighting conditions and you use the primary 50 megapixel camera, then you are going to get good results you can live with. Nice, clear photos. But then you have an ultra wide camera that's 12 megapixels and a macro camera, and these 2 cameras are nothing special, meaning they simply do not take that great photos. Now, on top of that, with the 50 megapixel main camera, when you start taking photos towards the nighttime, you start to lose quality, and it really struggles in nighttime to take good photos with any one of these cameras. I would have been satisfied if it took good photos with the 50 megapixel main camera, but even that is not the case. So the main camera takes good photos in daylight. All the other cameras are not that great, but also the main camera takes unimpressive nighttime photos where you lose quality and you get a lot of noise. So for me, that's a problem, and I wish they had done a little bit better with the camera system, because camera is really a very important part of a phone. Now, to be clear, budget-minded people might be able to live with that, no problem. But if you're really a camera guy or a girl, then you are not going to be fully satisfied. All right, next con, number 2, has to do with the fact that the phone stutters every now and then. There's some lag and stutter. To be clear, that's only going to be 10 to 15% of the time. Now, to me, that will be unacceptable, but again, some people don't care. Remember, the phone does have 120 hertz display refresh rate. That makes it very smooth to use. But then 10 to 15% of the time, the processor is going to struggle a little bit, and you're going to notice that slight lag, slight stutter to remind you that this is in fact a mid-range phone. Now, what I wish Samsung had done was to do better software optimization, or at least give it a better processor to eliminate the stutter completely. Because there's other phones out there within the same price range that do not stutter the way this phone does 10 to 15% of the time. Again, it's not going to happen all the time, happens occasionally, and it might bother some people. So that was number 2. Number 3, nothing comes in the box other than the phone and a cable. So let's say you're somebody that's actually trying to buy a budget phone to save money. All you get in the box is the phone and the cable. I would expect Samsung to actually include a charger and a bunch of earphones. Even if it is wired earphones, USB Type-C earphones would be perfect. Let's say you were somebody that's trying to save money, or you don't have money and you're trying to buy something cheap to get by, and then you buy this phone and all you get is the phone and a cable. Now you have to go out there, you have to buy a charger, and you have to buy a set of earphones. That's going to be additional spending up to $50 maybe. So I would say if you're targeting people in the budget range, at least include the basic accessories in a phone. So that was a final con. We had 6 pros and 3 cons. Now overall, the phone is a great package. Most people are going to be satisfied with it, but I just want to set the expectation so you know what's going on. Remember, great display, great speakers, solid update schedule, great battery life, micro SD expansion option, and water resistance. That's all the pros. And then you got the camera that's not that great. You got that occasional stutter, and you got nothing in the box other than the phone and the cable. So maybe these pros and cons can at least help you in making a buying decision. Remember, cons are normal when the phone is this cheap. You can't expect to pay $450 and get a perfect smartphone. You just have to weigh all the options and see if the buying decision makes sense to you personally. All right, so that's it. Any questions, comments, or concerns, drop them down below. Let me know. For now, guys, have a fantastic day, all right?